Great Britain, the hidden culprit of the First World War. More than 105 years after the First World War, the world has not yet fully agreed on why it broke out and which countries were guilty of a conflict that cost humanity 15 to 22 million dead, 23 million injured, and immense material losses. However, even Great Britain has been pointed out as a passive and hidden culprit of the war, or at least partly responsible. But what happened to cause the Great War to break out? Let's look at some details in this video to get to the bottom of the truth. Let's start. It has been said that the United Kingdom could have done much more to prevent the war by issuing an ultimatum to Germany, and in any case, Britain bore passive responsibility. Germans, Austrians, Russians, and French made decisions that led to the conflict and were jointly responsible. Each government believed that if it backed down or accepted other compromise solutions, the consequences for its interests would be worse. The German government went to war hastily. It is false that he had previously considered all diplomatic options. Germany and Austria should have acted more calmly before resorting to violence, but they cannot be held entirely responsible for the war. Something important to take into account is the death of Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo, the heir to the throne of the Austro-Hungarian Empire of the Habsburg family. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, nephew of the Austro-Hungarian Emperor Franz Joseph I and heir to the imperial crown, was on an official visit to Sarajevo, capital of the Condominium of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and had been annexed by Austria-Hungary. In 1908, a group of 6 nationalists led by Gavrilo Princip and Sečiko Popović, belonging to the Young Bosnia movement, had stationed themselves on the street where the official delegation would pass. Kabran Novik threw a grenade at the car in which Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sofia Chotek were traveling, but it missed, and although some people were injured, the Archduke's convoy was able to continue. The other plotters did not act as the cars passed them, and an hour later Franz Ferdinand's convoy took a wrong turn, heading towards a street where Gavrilo Princip was standing. The nationalist activated his pistol, killing Franz Ferdinand and his wife. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand significantly intensified traditional ethnic hostilities based on religions in Bosnia. In the city of Sarajevo, Austrian authorities encouraged violence against Serbs by Bosnian Muslims and Croatian Catholics. These anti-Serb riots took place between June 28 and 29, 1914. On the first day of violence, 2 Serbs died and many others were injured or attacked, while numerous Serbian homes, businesses, and institutions were looted and razed. Apart from Sarajevo, anti-Serb violence spread to other cities and towns in present-day Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia. The scum of the streets broke into private apartments, destroying everything they could get their hands on and seizing all valuables. The imperial authorities of Bosnia and Herzegovina imprisoned and expelled some 5,500 Serbs, including the most notable people of the ethnic group, of whom between 700 and 2,200 died in prison. A total of 460 Serbs were sentenced to death. Austria's decision to enter the war, they wanted to stay with Serbia. Austria-Hungary's foreign minister had assumed that any future war would take place on the Balkan Peninsula. In March 1914, the Prime Minister of Hungary wrote a letter to Emperor Franz Joseph I of Austria in a strongly apocalyptic and predictive tone, in which he used a hitherto unknown word, Weltkrieg, or World War. Gavrilo Princip, the man who had killed the Archduke, was Bosnian, but he professed the Serbian Orthodox faith, and his movement sought the separation of Bosnia and Herzegovina from the Austro-Hungarian Empire, to annex it to the neighboring Serbian kingdom. In Serbia, Princip trained in the use of firearms, edged weapons, and bombs. However, the purpose of this strategy was not war, but trade. Britain depended on its imports and exports, largely financed and insured by the City of London, and any threat to British naval supremacy was a threat to the state itself. In this context, the United Kingdom commissioned HMS Dreadnought in 1906, a warship that represented a military advance so great that it divided naval history into 2 parts, before and after battleships. HMS Dreadnought, with its 305mm guns, was the first capital ship to be powered by steam turbines, and its launch triggered the naval arms race and military spending among the powers of the time, especially Germany. If Britain had declared its intentions to enter the war, Germany would never have attacked. The murder of Franz Ferdinand unleashed a diplomatic crisis when Austria-Hungary issued an ultimatum to the Kingdom of Serbia, which it considered responsible for the crime, and the various international alliances forged during the previous decades began to be invoked. On July 28, 1914, exactly 1 month after the assassination of the Archduke in Sarajevo, the Austro-Hungarian Empire began hostilities by attacking Serbia. Meanwhile, Tsar Nicholas II Romano mobilized the Russian army, and Germany invaded Belgium, which had already declared itself neutral on the way to France. The Belgian invasion led British King George V to declare war on Germany. On August 4, 1914, the United Kingdom considered unacceptable the strategic risk posed by German control of the coast of Belgium and potentially that of France. Part of modern historiography reproaches the United Kingdom for having declared war without first issuing an ultimatum to William II to back down, since the German Kaiser had begun his war adventure thinking that Great Britain would not intervene. In these circumstances, there was no middle ground, and both Germany and Great Britain and the other actors opted for the voice of arms. Germany does have a lot of responsibility in the First World War, but so do other countries. Germany was the main instigator of the war, but not the only one. 60% of deaths in British forces in the first 3 months. During the First World War, 723,000 Britons died, almost double the 398,000 who died in the Second World War. Historian Neil Ferguson says what Britain did was the worst mistake in history. "History will treat me well because I will write it myself," said Winston Churchill, who nearly sunk the Allies during World War I with the Gallipoli disaster. He then was one of the great architects of the Allied victory in the Second. It is a commonplace that history is written by the victors, and the Great War was no exception that portrayed Germany, the largest European defeat, as the great villain. However, British historian Neil Ferguson, an Oxford graduate and Harvard professor, claims that the United Kingdom's intervention in the First World War was the biggest mistake in modern history. Ferguson posits that a German victory in the war without British intervention would not have posed an immediate threat to London. The historian believes that the United Kingdom could have postponed its confrontation with a dominant German empire in continental Europe for a time when it was better prepared, thereby avoiding the catastrophic costs generated by immediate action. Britain could have lived with a German victory. What's more, Britain would have been better off staying out in 1914, Ferguson said. He dismissed the idea that the United Kingdom should secure its position in the English Channel after Germany's invasion of Belgium by noting, "This argument, which is very seductive, has a great flaw. Britain tolerated exactly that situation when Napoleon invaded the European continent and did not immediately send ground forces to Europe." So, the final question is, who is to blame for the First World War? Although the superhero movie Wonder Woman portrays Ares, the god of war from Greek mythology, as the evil mastermind behind the conflict, we all know that it was not the gods who pushed humanity towards that catastrophe, but the political leaders and people, community that supported and followed them. Undoubtedly, the rise of Germany, nationalism, and alliance networks acted in favor of the outbreak of war. William II was an arrogant, insecure, and reckless leader, and he strove to realize his dream ended in catastrophe of seeing Germany leading the world economically and militarily. Nationalism is a powerful force that can unite people in purposes of social cohesion and inclusion, but also in others that fuel violence and death. Before the start of the war, European leaders had spent decades building networks of alliances under the idea that an attack on one meant an attack on all. Thus, it was only enough for one to attack another to witness a global conflagration. We hope this video has been useful to you. If you have anything to add, please share it with us in the comments section. Like this video and send the link to your family and best friends so they can also learn more about whether Britain was the hidden culprit of the First World War. I say goodbye, and it will be with me until the next video.